Hello and welcome. In this video, we'll be talking about how long it takes to recover from complex post-traumatic stress disorder. This is such an important topic, and I'm so excited to share this content with you. But before we get started, let me share a little more about who I am and why I'm sharing this with you today. I'm Annie Wright. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a trauma clinician with a specialty in relational trauma recovery. I'm also the founder of a boutique trauma-informed therapy center, and in addition to this, I'm also an online course creator and a published mental health writer, with my pieces and opinions appearing in Forbes, Business Insider, NBC, and the Huffington Post, among others. Every bit of my work in the world, whether this is through my clinical work, through my online courses, or through content like this that I put out into the world, is designed to support those who come from childhood trauma backgrounds to have the best adulthood possible despite adverse early beginnings. If who I am and what I share resonates with you, please be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and sign up for my newsletter in the comments section below. And now, as part of helping you have the best adulthood possible, despite how you may have started out in life, we're going to explore today's topic. How long does it take to recover from complex post-traumatic stress disorder? In this video, we'll cover the following. How long is complex post-traumatic stress disorder recovery, aka C-PTSD? What is C-PTSD? Is it possible to fully recover from it? How do we heal from C-PTSD? What are the signs of progress emotionally and mentally? What physical and behavioral changes manifest as we heal? So now, before we dive into today's topic, I just want to say I'm so glad to connect with you, and I truly hope that what I share here can be of support to you. And very importantly, please remember, no matter where you're starting from, change is possible. With that in mind, let's begin this journey together by exploring today's topic, recovering from complex post-traumatic stress disorder. To start, let's discuss how long recovery takes. Starting on a journey to recovery from complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD for short, can for so many of us feel akin to setting off on a trek through Mordor versus a short 1-mile loop through our favorite park. In other words, it can feel big, scary, arduous, seemingly never-ending, and filled with danger. It's a natural response, a question often stemming from desperation and so many years of pain to wonder, how long will it take to recover from CPTSD? Is there an end to this journey, or will this go on forever? How will I know I'm done? Why isn't this done yet? I get it because I've asked all these questions too, many times. It's perfectly normal and natural for you to want to know the timeline of your recovery and to be frustrated with how long it feels. Who wants to start a hike without having some idea of when they'll reach the summit, or at least a rest point where they can sit down, have some water, and rest their weary legs? Not me. No way. But just as every hike is unique, meaning as unique as the person and the capabilities of their body undertaking it, not to mention the topography and terrain traversed, so too is the path from recovery from CPTSD kind of totally unique and subjective. That means that no one, really not ever, can ethically tell you how long your own recovery from CPTSD will last or when you'll be done. Not what you wanted to hear, I know, but bear with me because I have some more nuance despite my lack of crystal ball about when your own journey will end. While each person's recovery from CPTSD will be unique, what's true for nearly all of us is that the complexity of CPTSD makes it a long-haul healing journey rather than a sprint with a definitive finish line. It is a long-distance trek and not a short 1-mile loop through our favorite park. Now, I know this can seem overwhelming, but remember, this journey of CPTSD recovery is not about reaching the end as quickly as possible, but about making tangible progress, no matter how small it might seem at the time. And on this seemingly endless proverbial hike, even though it feels like Mordor, there is a basic map. There are known ways we navigate the terrain, and there are markers of progress along the way. And these trail markers in particular are vital reminders that you're not standing still. You're moving forward on the hike. So knowing how and when to look out for these markers is really important so you can keep faith on your big long trek. So while the answer to how long will it take to recover from CPTSD is wholly subjective and nearly impossible to answer, I want to share a proverbial kind of map of the journey that most trauma therapists will guide their clients through on their CPTSD recovery hike, and what trail markers of progress can be, so you can decide for yourself if you're making progress and what being quote unquote done with the hike looks like for you. But before we talk about this map to recovery, let's break down and define what complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, is so we can understand the complexity of the recovery journey. Acknowledged by the World Health Organization's International Classification of Diseases, the 11th revision, a globally used diagnostic tool for epidemiology, health management, and clinical purposes, C-PTSD condenses the tangled, jagged aftermath of complex trauma into clear, but goodness knows not simple, diagnostic schema which center on 3 primary domains. 1, affective dysregulation, aka an inability to emotionally regulate oneself, expressed through an extended presence of negative and distressed emotional states. Persistent alterations in consciousness, encompassing memory gaps, disassociation, and changes in self-perception. Somatic and somatopsychic, aka relating to the body and mind, symptoms that signify profound alterations in physical experiences, in other words, chronic pain, GI issues, body dysmorphia, and more. On top of these primary schema, individuals dealing with CPTSD may also experience pervasive maladaptive thoughts about themselves and others, leading to dysfunctional relationship patterns and isolation. They may also experience an overwhelming sense of being defeated or trapped, intensified by feelings of guilt and shame. Moreover, they may also deal with emotional turmoil, which often results in reckless or self-destructive behavior, providing temporary relief but causing long-term harm. They can also struggle with rapid and intense changes in emotional reactivity and difficulty managing emotional and physical stress responses. They can also struggle with rapid and intense changes in emotional reactivity and difficulty managing emotional and physical stress responses. All of this further complicates the diagnosis. Another critical component of CPTSD includes disturbances in self-organization, which may manifest as an instability in goals, aspirations, values, or career directions. Finally, performance in areas such as work, self-care, and leisure can be severely compromised, causing additional distress and disruption in daily life. Really, the complexity of CPTSD cannot be understated. So why am I emphasizing this? Why am I listing out all of the many painful symptoms that go along with a CPTSD diagnosis? To showcase that it was never going to be an easy 1-mile loop around the lake in your favorite nearby park. It was always going to feel more like Mordor than an easy stroll. The complexity and intensity of the symptoms that co-occur as part of the CPTSD diagnosis means that we've already graduated into trek and long-haul hike territory if we choose to begin a healing journey from our CPTSD symptoms. It's so important to acknowledge this, that our journey will be long haul versus short, given the very nature of what we're trying to recover from. But it is a hike where there can be a proverbial kind of end, despite how long it can be, and despite the lack of exact knowing about the timeline. Since recovery from CPTSD is very much a long haul trek versus an easy walking path kind of deal, it is reasonable to worry whether or not it's possible to recover from CPTSD. In other words, you might ask yourself, does the long hike even end? The answer to that question is likewise also highly subjective. Recovering from CPTSD takes time, as we've already established. But even with extensive treatment over time, some individuals may continue to face lifelong challenges due to the complex nature of the diagnosis, necessitating ongoing symptom management. Conversely, for others on CPTSD healing journeys, studies indicate that long-term trauma-focused therapies can significantly reduce symptoms. So, is it possible to ever fully recover from CPTSD? Whether or not this will be the case for you, I can't answer. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, and no one can ethically answer that for you without intimate knowledge of you clinically. And then, compounded with the lack of a crystal ball, there's also the highly subjective piece around what done and quote unquote the end will look like for you. What do I mean by this? Some of us may feel like the proverbial hike is accomplished when we're able to live functional, responsible, full adult lives without the symptoms ruling us, but still living with occasional triggers from time to time. Still, others may feel like the journey has quote unquote ended when a decade of memories are reclaimed and there's an ability to get out of bed each day despite the lack of leading as full of a life as we would like. What and how we define fully recovered, aka the proverbial end of the hike, will be different for all of us. So, is it possible to ever fully recover from CPTSD? Well, it depends on how you define recovery for yourself and what's possible within the scope of your symptoms and work to alleviate them. But now let's talk more about how we can alleviate those symptoms and what the CPTSD recovery journey, aka the map of that hike through Mordor, may look like. Let's take on the million-dollar question. How do we heal from CPTSD? What does the healing map really look like? Professionally, I found that the complexity of the disorder naturally leads to a need for a comprehensive treatment approach. And as a trauma therapist, I hinge my work with clients on the three-phase framework of traumatology pioneered by psychologist Pierre Janet, followed by an integrative treatment plan. All of these are big fancy words to explain that the work happens in stages, and it happens with a wide range of tools. What are the stages? The 3 stages of CPTSD recovery, according to the 3-phase framework of traumatology, are stabilization. At the outset, in my clinical work, the therapeutic focus is on establishing safety and coping mechanisms. Clients learn to ground themselves in the present, utilizing grounding techniques such as mindfulness practices and sensory exercises to manage the overwhelming emotions that threaten their equilibrium. Processing trauma memories. This stage, which can take a while for us to get to, entails confronting and integrating the fragmented aspects of the self that trauma has shattered. Various therapeutic modalities such as EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, the power tool in my own clinical toolbox, are employed to process these memories. In this stage, we can create a coherent narrative of clients' experiences, fostering resilience and paving the way for adaptive responses to future stressors. Rehabilitation and integration. The final phase concentrates on rebuilding one's life holistically. It involves not only addressing the psychological wounds, but also developing healthy relationships, establishing vocational or educational goals, and solidifying the sense of self that has emerged from the crucible of trauma. This phase is about rediscovering joy, purpose, and a renewed sense of identity. Across these phases, which, let me be clear, are not always fully linear, trauma therapists like me will often rely on an integrative treatment plan that includes psychotherapy. Considered the foundation of trauma intervention, psychotherapy crucially assists in customizing evidence-supported therapeutic strategies to address the unique needs and experiences of each individual and their respective CPTSD symptoms. Medication. Though not always the central mode of intervention, medication is often dovetailed with psychotherapy to manage symptoms like anxiety and insomnia that might hinder the therapeutic progress. Many therapists like to collaborate with psychiatrists and prescribers to assess whether or not this is necessary for their patients living with CPTSD. Lifestyle adjustments. Adopting healthy lifestyle practices such as regular exercise, nutritional balance, reducing stress, making necessary structural life changes, and nurturing meaningful social ties play a crucial role in enhancing resilience and supporting the longevity of recovery efforts. And how do we track progress even as we put this staged multimodal plan into place to support CPTSD recovery? How do we know when we're making progress on that proverbial hike through Mordor? How do we know if we're making progress and recovering from CPTSD? Trauma therapists like me often adopt the biopsychosocial model of symptom reduction, taking into account a patient's biological, psychological, and social factors, both as indicators of the maladaptive symptoms currently at play and also as progress signs. Think of progress signs in CPTSD recovery as being like those paint blotches on trees or those stone piles on a hike that tell you you're still on the path, that you're not going in circles, and that indeed you've made some progress. To start, let's explore the emotional and mental transformations you can experience when recovering from CPTSD, those proverbial mile markers. Some of those varied progress signs might include development of coping strategies and resilience. Individuals can cultivate a big toolbox of tools to effectively navigate the complexities of their inner world and the intensity of their feelings. Reduction in symptom severity. As individuals progress, the intensity and frequency of emotional struggles and unhelpful behaviors decrease, both in frequency and in intensity. Self-esteem restoration. Through therapy, individuals with CPTSD often regain a sense of self-worth that trauma had taken from them. A sense of self and esteem begins to bud, begins to build again. Similarly, there are also physical and behavioral changes that we can manifest as we heal that are other markers of progress. Some of these might include improvement in physical health. Many trauma survivors face ongoing health challenges due to the complex physical effects of trauma. Recovery can bring a renewed focus on physical well-being, often resulting in decreased physical symptoms. Modification of behavioral patterns. Avoidance behaviors like isolation, self-sabotage, and substance abuse typically diminish during recovery. Instead, individuals adopt healthier practices that encourage personal growth and connection with others and the world. And that's just a handful of progress markers. There are so many more I could list. Whatever and however your own biopsychosocial progress markers will look like, it's important that you and your trauma therapist take the time to define what progress markers will look like for you on your own proverbial hike so that you can feel both less overwhelmed by the seemingly unending nature of the recovery journey and also see concrete evidence of your progress and how far you've come. So, how long does it take to recover from CPTSD? Hopefully, after watching this video, you realize how complex and completely subjective the answer to this question really is. And I hope too that you see the agency and self-determination you have to work with your therapist to define what quote unquote the end of the hike will look like for you and what progress markers you need and want to see on the way to ensure that you're making progress. If I can be of support to you personally, I'd be honored. Just contact me via the links in the show notes and we can get started together on a proverbial trek to support your recovery from CPTSD. And now I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. When you've started to lose faith on your own CPTSD recovery journey, What trail markers and signs have you looked for and found that indicate progress? What words of wisdom, support, and encouragement would you say to somebody else, maybe just a bit further behind in the journey than you? If you feel so inclined, please leave a message below so that others can benefit from your share and wisdom. You never know who on the other side of the world you might be helping when you share your story. Finally, if you're still not sure if this content applies to you, if you're still not sure if you come from a relational trauma history and live with complex PTSD symptoms, I would invite you to take my signature quiz, Do I Come from a Relational Trauma Background? It's a 5-minute, 25-question quiz I created that can be incredibly illuminating and that will point you in the direction of a wide variety of resources that can be of further help to you. Plus, when you take the quiz, you'll be added to my mailing list, where you'll receive twice-a-month letters from me sharing original high-quality essays with accompanying YouTube videos and audios you can stream, all devoted to the topic of relational trauma recovery, and where I share more about me as a person, my life, and how I'm journeying through my own relational trauma recovery journey and general adulthood. My newsletters are the only place where I share intimate glimpses into my life, including photos, the resources that are supporting me, the things I've discovered that delight me, words that are uplifting me, the practices that nourish me, etc. So please be sure to sign up for my mailing list, whether or not you want to take the quiz. I'll link to both of these things in the show notes below. Finally, thank you so much for listening to me today. I truly hope that even a small part of what I shared today felt helpful to you. If you found value in this video and would like to stay connected with my latest content, please consider giving the video a like. It helps more than you know. Also, subscribing to my channel and turning on the notification bell ensures you're always up to date with my newest videos. I appreciate your support and look forward to continuing this journey with you. So thank you, and until next time, please take such good care of yourself. You're so worth it.